Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights of the modern regeneration of the show. Today's episode is New Earth. It's the first episode of Season 2, or Series 2, depending on what part of the planet you're from. A group of cat nuns known as the Sisterhood are miraculously curing incurable patients. Plus, an old enemy thought to be dead returns.
Moisturize me.
New Earth is written by Russell T. Davies, directed by James Hawes, and originally aired on the 15th of April, 2006. It earned an overnight ratings of 8.3 million viewers. Hi, I'm Eugene, and let's go around and introduce ourselves.
Arlene.
This here's Josh.
Hi, this is Auburn.
Frank's here.
Hi, this is Brian.
And Kelsey, again, could not join us, and we miss
She
Kelsey.
just doesn't like any of you.
We wish her safe in her travels. All right. The Doctor, having received a message on his psychic paper, takes Rose to New Earth in the year 5023. The message simply reads, Ward 26, please come.
So just to get things started, do you see that there's a scene in the beginning where Rose is saying goodbye to Mickey and Jackie, which is a nice little cameo. I mean, they're not in the rest of the episode, but it's nice and it's an emotional little moment. But
In modern day.
In modern day, after the events of the Christmas invasion. But we don't know how long after.
Long enough to move the TARDIS.
Yes, the TARDIS has been moved. So what adventures took place in between? But what I really like is that we see the Doctor in the TARDIS working on the consoles, setting things up. And this is really the first time we see the Doctor working in the new Doctor working in the TARDIS. And it's just a nice little scene where we see David Tennant and it's like he's always been there. But then you realize, wait, in Christmas Invasion, there wasn't a scene of him even awake in the TARDIS. Mm-hmm. So this is the first time we see him working in the TARDIS. And it's just a nice little, okay, we're starting new, we're starting fresh. I like it a lot.
And then don't forget, Rose kisses Mickey goodbye.
Yes.
And Mickey says, I love you. And she just walks away.
Yes.
I think she says bye.
And she says bye. She does not say anything
No.
back.
Does not say I love you back.
That's true.
But that kiss was a very passionate
It was
kiss.
a very passionate kiss.
Yes, but she doesn't say I love you back. I noticed it right away, too.
I was like,
Yeah, exactly.
stop leading him on.
Yeah.
And that's Mickey's only line this episode.
And then there's a shot, I don't know if you all noticed, but when the TARDIS, when you see I think Jackie's walking away, you can see on the asphalt, there's a fading away remnant of Wolf.
So
really?
So it was Bad Wolf. Now it's just
and now it's fading out. So and you don't catch it right away. I think it took us a couple times before we finally noticed that it was there.
I saw it right away. I'm just kidding.
We're not
But
all
yeah.
super people like Eugene.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you that on top of this high horse.
Well, it's strange that you saw the Doctors in the TARDIS differently than I did. I thought it was kind of a melancholy opening.
You're kidding.
With him
No,
in there?
I'm not.
I'm sorry.
He's in there alone. It's like, well, where's
That
Rose? What
surprises
happened
But
to
he's
Rose?
smiling and he's all
No, not the
excited.
beginning. It looks very sad. The music is a bit somber.
Yeah.
He's just, touching and moving the consoles, and it's just, what happened? Where's Rose? Why is he on his own?
Oh.
It just seemed odd. And then it cuts to outside. Rose is saying goodbye. It cuts back, and then he smiles.
Oh.
So it's like, okay, you got me. I didn't know what was going on. I wanted to know what was happening. And it's like that I thought was part of it as well, because they got me on that one, wanting to know more.
Cool.
And then when we're on New Earth after that, you get a lot of the reason why Rose doesn't say I love you back to Mickey. Because the first thing she says to the Doctor is, I love traveling with you.
Yes.
And then gives him googly eyes.
Yes. Yeah, it's very apparent now.
Yeah, I love. And holds his arm. And when they're laying on the grass, it was our first date.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. And she also says how different he is now.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, go on.
Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. As they make their way to the hospital, they are followed by a mechanical spider.
I wanted to bring something up.
Yeah, sure.
Is it the only time we ever see, at least up till now, getting a message on the psychic paper?
Like that.
This is the first time.
That-
it's
yeah.
not the last, but it's the first time.
Not the last? Oh,
No,
I don't
yeah.
remember another one.
But the way that it's done.
Because it hasn't happened yet.
Well, yeah.
And before, maybe it's too early to do this in the episode, but I also don't want to forget to do it before we move on, is that this is the first trip with the new doctor. And where does he take her? One, he takes her to a very windy place because they must have hated filming there because her hair is flying everywhere.
They had to ADR most of that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
But if you think back to the first place that Eccleston took Rose, he took her to the end of the world in the year 5 billion. And this doctor takes her to 23 years.
5 billion, 23.
23. So it's 23 years later.
23 years later than what?
Then the Earth being destroyed.
Because
Then
this
the
is,
end of the
this is
world
new
episode.
Earth, so Earth is gone.
Oh, okay.
And so and the doctor is now referencing, okay, yeah, we saw the Earth blown up. But then the human race got all nostalgic and very retro. And so, now we have New York.
They hired mice to rebuild Earth.
Okay.
Hitchhiker's Guide, people.
Yeah, I was there with you. But I just think it's interesting where, remember we had that long conversation about how could the doctor do this to Rose? It's such a terrible place that he took her where everything's dead and everything's about to blow up. And I think I was saying this to Frank the other night. I think I was like in the minority because I was saying, but this was the way of the doctor saying, you guys made it, right? The Earth may even be destroyed, but humans are still around and you made it. And now this doctor on their first date, which is kind of like, parallel to the first one, you've made it. And Rose is now really happy. And Rose is like, wow, this is great. This is fantastic. There's an entirely new city. And I just think it's an interesting comparison between the two doctors. This doctor is he's kind of like gotten over his issues.
Well, it's obviously a lot more jovial and fun.
Yes.
And the Eccleston had his fun moments, but how charming he is right off the bat.
Yeah.
Especially in this episode. I mean, the Christmas episode, he was out of commission for a lot of it. But even in the first 5 minutes I'm watching this, I'm like, man, he's charming.
Yeah, and we were describing it when we were talking to each other, is that Eccleston has a gravitas to his character, and Tennant has a lightness. And I was kind of saying, well, that's if you want to put it in positive terms. And then if you wanted to put it in negative terms, it's like Eccleston is depressing, or depressed, I should say, and Tennant is silly, if you want to be negative about it. But I just think it's an interesting comparison how right away it's like they're kind of looking at the same thing, but they're coming at it from different views of human race makes it.
It's like a variation on a theme.
Yes. And I just thought that was...
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Because you're saying the Ninth Doctor, as Eccleston, didn't bring Rose to End of the World as a depressing or...
I don't think
he meant to either.
It was,
I don't think he meant to.
Because he knows this other worlds exists.
Yeah.
That they do keep going on. And this is just showing that rather than saying it like he did in the End of the World episode.
Yes. And they actually even, in this episode, they actually call out the End of the World episode. Remember our first date and we had chips. So they're basically like pointing out, we want you to remember that episode and we want you to think about it when you're watching this episode too.
No, for also later reasons.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So they're on a grassy knoll and they're watching the traffic go by, and there's a mechanical spider watching them, and it's the same type of robot spider that we saw in season 1, episode 2, The End of the World, that we just mentioned. It transmits images of Rose and the Doctor back to Lady Cassandra and her assistant Chip.
Also, I thought this was interesting that this is Rose's first alien planet.
That's true.
The whole first season,
was on
they
Earth?
are on Earth or on space stations.
Yeah, this is the first
Are they
episode.
really?
Yeah, this is the first episode story to take place on an alien planet in the reboot.
You're kidding.
Applegrass.
It's true.
Wow, I never put that. Wow.
So that's why her reaction
amazing.
is, I'm actually on another planet.
It's funny you don't think about that.
Resonates, why that's important.
Never thought about that,
When I saw this scene again on the reviewing, it reminded me a lot. It just made me compare it to the romance in the Star Wars prequels with, where they're
Brian's
in these
favorite.
grassy lawns and rolling around. And it's just
Sand
amazing
everywhere.
how easy it was to do it right.
Yes.
For the BBC to do it right, where we saw that wonderful example of kind of the wrong way to do it.
I'm sorry, I just blocked those completely out of my mind. So I
Welcome
didn't
back,
think they
everybody.
existed.
All right, let's take
It's like the silence.
everybody's midichlorian counts and continue.
One more thing. Rose is a lot more used to traveling now.
Oh, yeah.
It was in the TARDIS. Where do you want to go? Oh, let's go.
And she brought all that. She was all packed up
Yeah.
when she came in.
It looks like she was taking a holiday.
But the doctor's saying, okay, let's go somewhere we haven't gone before, which is a new planet.
Yeah.
And then he goes, yes, well, let's start over here. And going to the hospital and shows her that somebody has actually called them to it with a psychic paper. She goes, oh, I just thought we were just traveling. Okay, now we're doing something else. We are here for a reason.
And she doesn't
just-
mind.
Yeah. It's right,
I love that.
Turns.
I
she's like,
wrote
Is that
that
why
down
he
too.
went to that planet to begin with, or did he receive it right then and there?
No.
That's why they went there.
They
That's
went
why
to
he
that planet
chose to
because
go
he got
for
the
it.
message.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so
she goes,
she's
okay,
like,
it set me up fine, but we're here. Let's go for it. And she's right on board right away.
yeah, she's okay with it. She's not upset that they're not on a date. Name?
New York?
How many?
How many, Frank?
How many Yorks?
It's the 15th New York. So does that make it the 16th York?
That's what I was going to say. It's the 16th York. That's all.
Okay.
Okay,
But it's only the second New Earth, right? It's only the first New Earth.
The first
Second
New
Earth?
Earth.
Yeah, I think it's the
second
first New Earth.
I'm
Yeah.
so
First
lost
New
now.
It's New York.
Yeah, but I like the rhythm that he said it in.
No.
No.
I'm an American. I don't have rhythm. Okay, so once in the hospital, Rose is shocked to find that it is run by the Sisters of Plenitude, a group of nuns from a feline race. The doctor and Rose get separated and take different elevators to Ward 26. The elevators shower their occupants with a major disinfectant cleansings. Chip diverts Rose's elevator to the floor where Cassandra is hiding. Cassandra's brain survived in a jar when her skin was destroyed back on Platform 1. Cassandra traps Rose and transfers her essence into Rose's body by the use of a psychograft, subverting Rose's own consciousness. Cassandra knows that there is something odd with the Sisterhood in this hospital and is going to use her new body to find out what it is. So a lot happens there.
A lot.
And then, well, I mean, obviously I've seen this episode before, but even watching it, I'm like, well, how did she survive? What happened? Like, so I even forgot. So I was like, well, I want to know how. Like, are they going to talk about it? And then thankfully they broached it early on, like right away. It wasn't like some reveal
Mystery,
later.
yeah.
It's like, well, this is how she survived. Now let's move on with the story.
Exactly. Yeah. Her brain's underneath. And it was in the end of the world. They just
Still
didn't
in the
focus
brain.
on it much.
We mentioned it in that episode because we saw
Yeah.
it like something else
Yes.
from one of the classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But how else other than the brain?
Oh, the back of her body.
And well, she has new skin
Yeah.
from the back of her.
Right. And then Rose says that joke.
Yeah, which is the second
funny.
one. The second
But then,
one
where
that
did they
had,
keep
but-
her body? That they had skin from her backside.
Well, I think it's a little, to bring it back up, I think it's a little George Lucasing in there for them to kind of come up with something retroactively to
Yeah.
explain something before.
But with the writing, so they don't have, bad words,
Yeah.
is Rose is saying, well, then you're tucking out of your, and Cassandra answers, ask not. And that's the second time they do that in that scene. The first one with being Cassandra recognizing Rose and saying that little, and that's when Rose goes into the hospital saying that it's a bit rich. So that little, a bit rich.
Clever ways
catch
around
that one.
things. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Then this is not very NHS.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So.
that was a good writing.
Yeah.
A lot of fun with this
Oh,
one.
yeah.
There's also the beginning of a 10th Doctor ongoing bit that they go back to that he doesn't like that there's not a little shop.
Yeah, he points out that
Yeah,
there's,
there should be a little shop. I like
Right here.
little shops, and then that'll be an ongoing little.
Oh, I didn't
Also,
catch
that the doctor doesn't like hospitals when he
Yeah,
walked in.
Okay.
But when they go through the disinfectant,
Yes.
it's a great little scene.
Yeah,
And the doctor
yeah.
knows what's coming. And, you'll find out.
Oh, yeah.
And they really started setting up the comedy with him really well when she can't hear him on the other side of the elevator
Right.
and all that stuff. It's like it's really letting you know, okay, this is the rhythm of this
Version.
of this version this season.
And they really grasped who this doctor is going to be. They already had it set up
Right away.
in the way that he has a comic timing, in
Yeah.
all this different stuff that future doctors may not have set up as quickly.
Sure.
But also, what I liked when he came out of the elevator. He's
Yeah.
all dry. His hair is perfect. And he reaches up and just starts tossing it a bit. It's like, no, it's a little bit too much. And he just runs his hand through it to mess it up a little bit.
also kind of shows you how comfortable Rose is getting with this whole thing because she freaks out.
Right.
Because it's
But
new.
just because it's shot.
Yeah.
But by the time they're doing the blow drying of
Yeah,
the hair,
she's
she's
like,
like,
"No,
all
shampoo
right,
for
get
my
my hair dry. Okay, I'm good.
I keep thinking of the Psycho scene with Janet Leigh. It's like, did they put cold water in that for
Yeah,
Billy
that must
Piper?
have been terrible to
I did
film.
wonder, like when they right before they first sprayed her with water with the disinfectant, did they tell Billy Piper exactly what was going to happen? Because she had a really true reaction in that moment.
See, that's what makes me think it
Like,
could have
it's
been really
just
cool.
gonna scorch a little bit, or it's going to be like a spray. We'll do it in post, and then just
Right.
wham.
I can just imagine everybody behind the camera just standing there going, "Please don't mess it up. I don't want to have to reset this. I don't want to have to reset."
Because then they have to go dry her hair, dry the clothes.
Every time I
Clothes,
do
the makeup,
man.
Every time
everything was
anything
set.
like that happens in a TV show, I'm always just watching for the scenes around it to see, like, how, okay, did they film it like this or anything?
And I'm like, "You're gonna ruin the coat."
But it's more like animation. We can just
Redo
just
it.
erase that, redraw that, and
Yeah, just walk in and out of frame and you're dry.
exactly.
And one thing I like about Rose is she picks up the pipe when she gets out of the elevator.
Oh, yeah.
Chip says, "Oh, right
She's
this way."
learned.
She's right
This
away.
isn't
She
right.
knows
Grab
something's
the
up.
pipe. I'm gonna. So she's definitely grown.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, in that scene, did you first think that the doctor was getting redirected? Because I think that was a little confusing, at least for me, like the order of things that happened. I felt like the doctor was going to be put somewhere. And I think they did that on purpose because Rose
Right.
was the target
Yeah.
of Cassandra, but
I don't know. I think because I knew what was happening.
long. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
been so long since the first time I saw it.
I mean, for me, it was I recognized Cassandra's voice, so I was thinking they're diverting Rose and not the doctor.
Yeah, she was talking about Rose. She was angry
Yeah.
at Rose.
but
Also,
the way
you-
that it was cut, like the doctor walks in
Right.
okay.
and then Chip
Divert elevator.
says divert elevator, and then Rose walks in.
Well, listeners, leave a comment on what
Yeah.
you thought
What do you
when
think?
were watching that moment.
And also when Rose walks in, well, she calls Chip Gollum, which I thought was kind of funny.
That's funny.
Is that the same year, by the way? I was wondering. I liked how it dated the episode. How
Just soon after.
Yeah.
Because Fellowship, I believe, was 2001, so it would have been 2001, 2, and 3 for the 3 movies. So this is 2005. So still, it was in the
2006 now.
6. Oh,
so
that's
it was a little while after. Okay.
Yeah.
It was an all right.
And
Anyway.
then, but when she walks in, Cassandra's watching a film
right on a projector.
on a projector. And
to get that on New Earth.
because here's how I
Exactly. Good question. Here we go.
this is how I rationalize it, because the doctor said when they were on the grassy knoll, after the Earth blows up, humans got very retro and very nostalgic. And so I'm kind of thinking, okay, they went back and just, that's not how they do everything, but it's just kind of a nostalgic little, sometimes we do things on reel-to-reel film, just like today people are going back and playing things on vinyl, which
Right.
by the
and
way,
creating things. So
they're just records.
So-
They're not vinyl, they're records. But they're all
Holy
nostalgic.
term for an older
Thing, yeah. So that's
like
kind of how
saying-
I explain it. She's being nostalgic because she's in a very nostalgic
right.
place.
So then, did Cassandra grow up on New Earth?
No, she grew up on Earth. Remember, she says that in
Yes.
End of the World. She was born in the Antarctic desert.
No,
Yeah,
no,
so-
the crevasse.
Los Angeles. No.
Oh yeah, her parents were from certain.
Oh, okay, that's right.
But
So
she was
when
the
they
last
went-
human on Earth.
I'm thinking ahead and I'm thinking wrong. Never mind.
Yeah, but she
Scratch
is
that,
from
reverse
Earth
it.
and lived on Earth, so
Yeah,
she's
yeah.
very old.
No, I got the end of the show episode confused.
Right.
No problem.
Which also answers the skin. If she's that old, they must maintain
Preserved it somewhere.
Preserve something.
some of her body so that because it's going to be wear and tear, no matter how much she gets done.
And again, before we move on, this is a great Rose scene when she
which-
stands up to Cassandra.
Yeah.
Yeah, she stands up.
I mean, she's just doing, and Billy Piper, it's really started to nail this character.
Yeah.
She does really well. And we also looked up, because we're Americans, so we didn't know the slang. We looked up chav.
Yeah. Write that down.
Did you look it up too?
Yeah, I was like, what
I have
is
no
that?
idea what that means. Oh my God, I'm a chav.
and
According to
It's hard
Oxford,
to describe because there's
Yes,
different definitions from different places.
Give us-
yeah, from the Oxford English Dictionary, it's a young, lower class person who's brash and loutish, brash and loutish behavior, and wears real or imitation designer clothes.
Okay.
Hipsters.
sure. What's the other? That's the only
may
one
have
we
some
wrote down.
answers. listeners.
Frank, it's one of those things, since it's a slang term, it kind of means something different.
Yeah.
Vulgar, uneducated.
I think it's probably more of a derogatory thing coming from someone who's hoity-toity.
Right,
Sure,
because
yeah.
it's working class
Oh,
people.
you're a commoner. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I think the best analogy, and sorry if this offends anybody, but I think the best analogy for Americans is if someone calls you white trash.
yeah.
Yeah.
It has that. It's a connotation. It's like, well, no,
class
because I'm
thing.
poor, it's a class thing.
It sounds like she said commoner. Yeah. I mean,
It's worse
Yeah.
than
But it's
that.
worse than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, like, or not just commoner, like a wannabe.
Yeah, wannabe.
Like she wants
A
to
poser.
be someone who's
poser.
rich but's not.
yeah.
Yeah.
Someone who wants to be rich but isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really, upfront or brash about that, brash. And, just, I can't remember what I'm trying to
Or
say
like
now.
the whole idea of like
feel of entitlement.
Without anything backing it up.
Right.
Kardashians.
oh yeah. But you were saying that Rose is really starting to fill her role and like be this person. Coming from me, I was like, you know what? I really can't hate Rose that much. I was like, this episode, I was like feeling for her. I'm like, I like Rose.
Just took you 13 episodes.
Only 13.
And a Christmas special.
Rose did grow since then.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah,
she
for
did,
sure.
yeah.
I think it was her childish ways before that was just really just getting under my
Right.
skin. And now it's more of, she's more deliberate. And
Yeah.
She's much more adult. I mean, when she's talking to Cassandra, she is almost kind of like, you're nothing. After everything I've been through, you're just a piece of skin.
Yep.
And then I also liked it when Cassandra takes over Rose's body. Billy plays that well too.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and and I also like the writing of, okay, how did, when she says to Chip, how did she talk? And Chip's like, Cockney. And so she just starts doing
Like Eliza Doolittle.
yeah, she's also using the Cockney rhyming slang, which,
Yeah, that's right.
which I'm not familiar. It seems very old fashioned to me.
I've heard of that.
You know, and I looked up a couple of them. Like she says, "Oh, apples and pears," and that means stairs. And I can't remember what the other one was, but it's just she's throwing out these things where it's like, "What on earth are you saying?"
You mean what on New Earth? Are you saying?
Yeah. I mean, it would be like somebody. Oh, how does she talk? Oh, like from the valley. Well, gag me with a spoon. Yeah, that's what everybody says in the valley as we record this from the valley.
That's more Encino.
A really good part of Encino.
The doctor then reaches the correct ward and meets Novice Haim, the nun caring for an old friend, the Face of Bo. She tells the doctor the Face of Bo is dying of old age. There is a legend that before he dies, he will tell his secret to someone like himself, a wanderer with no home.
Okay.
I'm done.
Now that he's changed the tone, I was going to say that this is a great scene.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was sincere.
I can't say anything now. It doesn't sound sarcastic.
And I think the reason why it's such a great scene is because the actress who plays Novice Haim. I think she
Yes.
really sells it. She really
that
is
the nurse.
The nurse, yeah.
nurse.
And she's
She
just
does. She's
No,
very
that's the nurse.
sincere. And
very
she-
sincere, very calm. The music going on is also great. So it's like, because really, it's like you're kind of feeling for the Face of Bo. He's just a big piece of plastic. He's not even doing
know.
anything
Yeah.
at this point. But
It's
you're
a
like
great
sitting in
sculpture too.
Well, yeah,
It is.
but it's also not at this point. It's not even animated.
Barely, yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
'cause
he's just asleep,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
It's
so
also- and it's
the
tennis
music and the cast, and you're really feeling for. It's like he's dying. It's like, oh no, he can't die. You really, really feel for it.
And then also too, I don't want to say too much, but what we know about the Face of Bo in the future
helps.
I was feeling and thinking about that watching all this.
Yeah.
You don't think that's a little George Lucas-y as well?
Oh yeah, but I don't.
Like-
I liked it when it.
There's a-
happened.
But I liked it even before.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was one of those. Oh, the Face of Bo is kind of cool.
No, I mean, I agree that the Face of Bo in this instance was very cool and throughout this episode. But then later the
retro.
the refit or
Yeah.
retcon, trying to fit that into this. I don't know if it exactly, but I guess you could.
Well, we'll talk about that more
Yeah.
As we get there.
if that ever happens in the future.
I just remember when I first watched this, I was really annoyed that I didn't know what the Face of Bo was. And I'm like,
Did you remember him from Newer
From
End of the World?
yes. And then that they're saying that he will reveal later. So then I'm like, so Eugene, who is he? And he wouldn't tell me. So, I was just annoyed with that at that point.
Don't worry, audience. No spoilers here.
We'll try. We're trying.
Yeah, they're already throwing things at the
10-year-old.
If you
speakers.
private message me, I will tell you.
The doctor looks around the rest of the ward and witnesses a terminally ill patient, the Duke of Manhattan, make a full recovery, an impossible recovery. Matron Casp, the feline in charge, evades his questions about the medicine they are using and how this is possible. She leaves the ward because of an emergency in intensive care. Sister Jat leads Matron Casp to a secret bank of pods and opens one to reveal a diseased human pleading for help. They reseal the pod, and the matron tells Sister Jat to incinerate the human specimen.
Which is the plans of cats everywhere.
Well, it's just the old saying goes, never trust a nun, never trust a nurse, never trust a cat.
Yeah, that old saying.
Well, it hasn't happened yet, so we're starting it now.
Maybe.
You're saying?
Oh, just that that when they were observing this patient or whatever, they didn't even think that it was actually living, like, conscious. They thought it was behaving with a consciousness, but that
It was an anomaly? Wasn't
Yeah.
it?
yeah, thinking that it was just sort of some sort of ghost behavior from, you know, a prior consciousness
Yeah.
or prior to being human, not realizing that it's actually
Alive. Sentient, yeah.
Yeah, difference.
but we
Because
don't
they
know.
knew it was alive, but
Right.
they just was that it wasn't sentient.
Yeah.
Right.
True.
But then at this point in the episode, as an audience, we don't know, are we supposed to believe them or
Or what?
I mean, it's obvious.
Well,
You
we
watch
got a
enough
human
TV
going,
shows.
help me.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
are we supposed not to care about him?
Yeah.
Have we talked yet about how great that makeup is?
Oh,
cat
I know I
makeup?
haven't, but I've been wanting to.
The cat
Yeah.
makeup
It
is
reminded me a lot of the Planet of the Apes makeup and how the original
Yes,
Planet of the Apes
time,
makeup
yeah.
and how simple it was, but it's so
so
believable.
effective. So effective.
Yeah.
I really, really well
Only
done.
a few times, like towards the end of the episode, did I see like where it was married on, like glued onto the chin. But even that didn't look bad.
Oh, really? Because I didn't
even
notice that at all.
Yeah, well,
It's done so well.
I think it's because I'm just familiar with how that makeup's done, so I just kind of knew what I was looking for. But it didn't even look bad, and I was just looking at it. I'm like, God, it's just how much of it's paint and how much of it's actually fur.
Yeah,
It's just so
really,
good.
really well done.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's like you think back, for those of you who've watched them, I mean, you know, Doctor Who's had some not good makeups
Oh, yeah.
and aliens and plastic garbage bags and bubble wrap as aliens.
The alien, yeah. Ooh.
You know, you look at this and you go, I mean, they were really wanting to do something that looked really great and succeeded
And it
completely.
worked. And they bring them that race back, right?
Yeah, we see them.
Yeah.
We do see them again.
But not as many.
No, not in the same.
Yeah. Not
Numbers.
in the force that we have now.
It did feel like a really ambitious episode. There was a lot going on throughout. Sometimes we'll get to it. Didn't quite work, but
But for now.
yeah. But for now, very ambitious.
I felt
hitting it.
the special effects wise, like the digital effects, the only time it really, I don't even think it failed. It's just more noticeable, like the compositing.
Yes.
Like
Yeah.
all the animation, all the ships flying around, and even the stuff at the end with the pods, like it all worked. It's just the compositing.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about compositing to say why it's that way, but I'm sure it has to do with the amount of money thrown at render times and stuff like that.
Yeah.
When I think the stuff that's going to come later only stood out because the rest of it was so good looking. The cats were so good looking. The sets.
So you're saying the practical effects were
Yes.
really, really good.
Practicals
And
were
the
very
digital
good.
effects that weren't so hot.
I
Yeah.
laughed out loud at one point
Yeah.
of some of the digital effects. It was just
That was 10 years ago. There.
Yeah, it's true. Now TV, even the Doctor Who show now,
Oh, for sure.
even soon after this. Okay.
My turn. Okay, sorry. Cassandra, who's now inside Rose, remember, so we're going to refer to her as Cassandra Rose.
Right.
Cassandra Rose is getting used to her new body and can access Rose's memories. She discovers that the new man with Rose is the Doctor. She meets up with him at Ward 26, and he shows her the medical miracles that are happening. The Doctor notices that Rose is different, and then she grabs him and plants a big wet kiss on him before they go searching for information.
I like how when she kissed him and then she walked away and he was stunned, he wasn't aroused in any way. He was more just proud. Like,
Yes.
what did he say?
Still got it.
Still got it, yeah. And he was shocked, of course, and thrown off kilter, but it wasn't like a cocky thing. It
Yeah.
was more just about himself.
Yeah, I'm good.
And I think that saves it from getting a little creepy-ish.
So, Arlene, do you think it was just to... No, she's the one
Well,
who
yeah.
always brings this up. So, was it to distract the Doctor? Was it Cassandra's now being in a human body with the feelings and emotions and all that? Or is it picking up from Rose's mind and who Rose is, her attraction to the Doctor.
So I feel like it wasn't Rose's attraction. It was more like, I'm a woman, I want to feel womanly. And she kind of mentions later, oh, he is attractive. And she looks at him. And so she does plant one on him. And I think the Doctor doesn't see anything weird about it yet because of the way the episode was going. Because she was very handsy with him earlier. And they were acting like it wasn't,
Right.
you know, like a date, I feel almost.
The only thing I would disagree there is I think the Doctor does know something's wrong.
Yes.
He does know it's weird.
I think he knows it's weird, but not as weird because...
Not
Again,
weird like I
people
need to
thinking,
deal with
like-
it instantly, but he knows something's wrong.
You know something's
because
up.
I forgot who said, but he's not acting cocky. I think he is because he's kind of like, yeah, you know, she can't help herself because you know.
Oh, he
I
is
got
doing
it.
that. Doesn't mean there isn't something weird, but
I'm like, hey,
He's
but,
worth
you
it.
know, hey,
because I mean, he does say, I have in my notes, he asks her what's going on, and she's like, oh well, I'm just trying something new. It's the new me.
yeah.
To it, when he has a great
Right.
response where he's like,
Right.
well, I'm one to talk about being new. I'm one to talk. So, there is a lot of. He's also a new Doctor too, so he's trying to figure out. Although they don't really focus on it too much in this episode, but you could also say that he, as the Doctor, is trying to figure everything out now too, where it's like.
Does this
Hey,
work? Does this work?
maybe Rose was directly attracted to me before, and I just didn't notice it, and now I am because I'm this new guy.
Yeah.
I think he knows something's wrong with her.
But I think he knows something.
Yeah,
He's
I get
just
your
waiting
point.
to figure it out.
I totally get your point.
But it's not too worrisome
Exactly.
for him.
I would agree
It
with
is.
that.
See, I disagree. Because of the next thing that's about to happen.
But I think that's when it becomes worrisome.
No, but that's why he tests her with that. He knows something's wrong with Rose. He knows something's
yeah.
odd. So they're looking for. It's just the next line. So Cassandra notices that there's no intensive care on the map of the hotel. And that's what-
Hospital.
This isn't French.
Who notices that? The Doctor does?
Cassandra Rose.
Cassandra Rose. And he's like, okay, that's good. And so he sets up as finding out that the see what I have.
Oh, that's right, 'cause he's-
subframe is locked.
And he's
And so-
watching her do all that stuff.
And so Cassandra Rose says, well, then try the installation protocols. And Rose has no idea what the installation protocols are.
Yeah.
So I think the Doctor saying that and just faking that the subframe's locked was a trap that Cassandra just fell right into. So I think he already knows. And the kiss is like, okay, something's wrong. I need definite proof that it isn't just, oh, we're on a new planet. She's freaking out because I'm new. I'm trying to decide who I am. It's like, I'm setting you up. Because Rose would not have any inclination of what anything's wrong with this.
Yeah.
So the subframe's locked. Try the installation protocols. Oh, yeah, of course, is what he says. But he goes, you're not Rose. There's something
Yeah.
definitely wrong.
Okay, I can see that.
And also, I think they put the line, still got it, as a joke to
yeah.
the
Oh, it's-
audience,
yeah. Also, too, which one of the Doctors had it? I was sort of looking back and like,
Well, if you ask the Doctor, all of them.
right.
But if you're really trying to look, it's the Eighth Doctor.
Which is the 8th?
The Eighth is the movie, and he's the only one who kissed a companion.
Yeah.
yeah.
McCann.
So
Paul McGann. Those who don't know.
Why don't you know?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
We'll figure.
we covered that one.
We'll help you with that. Production note wise, and the pods, they only had like a certain amount of pods, practical pods, and then they just replicated them through the computer. So there was like 8 or 9 or something like that, and then the rest of it. So use of good practical and digital.
And I'm sure, do you do what I do every single time I see that? And just, you're here for the water. Who gets it?
I can't get it.
V.
Yeah, reference to V.
Come on, guys.
All right.
Oh, come on, go back
Who's
and watch
old?
that.
Who here is
I
old?
remember
Oh, but
V, I just
the
don't
original
remember
V,
Is amazing.
great.
We should do a podcast on it.
if you haven't seen it, find it.
Mark Singer at
Oh, I
his
think I'm sure you
pinnacle
can find
of
it. Did anyone
Yes.
notice? I don't know if we got there yet in this episode, but the continuity error with the pods when they walked in there.
No.
When I can't remember if it's Cassandra Rose or Rose. I think it's Cassandra Rose, where they're when they first enter in the pods. I guess it is then they're overlooking all of them, and there's an empty pod behind them, and then we see what they see. And when we cut back, there's a guy in there.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah,
He was leaning back.
That was weird.
He wasn't leaning back though. Oh,
I don't know.
but the thing was,
He was leaning to the
wasn't
side.
it wasn't just a guy in there. All the other pods were like shadowy and blurry, and when they cut back, it was a guy like boom,
Yeah,
like
no.
right up against the
I did
window.
not notice.
I do remember that now.
I thought it might have been, because I didn't remember this episode very well. I thought it might have been the Cassandra's clone. What's his name?
Chip.
I thought it might have been Chip spying on them, and I didn't quite remember. But then it never went back to it. So
No, it's the ash from the incinerated one.
yeah.
It's a leftover. Anyway, Chip,
that
not to
we
be
call a
confused.
gaff in the business.
So Chip, not to be confused with Chip from the Green Lantern Corps. Anyway, Cassandra Rose notices
Take that back. As much as I love Green Lantern, take that back.
notices that there is no intensive care on the hospital map, just as Frank mentioned. The doctor uses his sonic screwdriver to open a secret doorway which leads to a cavernous warehouse with thousands of pods.
You're here for the water.
They open a few to see the humans infected with every disease known in the galaxy. The Sisterhood also using them as lab rats to create cures for the patients in the hospital above. Novice Haim followed them and says they are just grown tissue and are not real people. They had to grow them as complete human bodies because that was the only way that the cures would work. The doctor disagrees and says that these are living beings and he will stop the sisters. But first, he wants to know what did they do to Rose? Cassandra Rose confesses that she needed Rose's body to help find out what the Sisterhood were doing. She knocks out the doctor and places him in an empty pod.
Okay, before you keep going, another thing I want to mention out is Novice Hames, what she says is really kind of interesting. You know, they're not evil.
Right.
mean,
think
they
they're actually
are.
doing something good.
They are.
They're probably just taking orders.
Well,
It's been done.
they I think genuinely think these aren't people.
Yes, they do genuinely think that. And they also
Except for
said
the
that
matron. The matron, I think, knows.
they know that
this
there's
is-
anomalies.
This is also could be a practice that's been going on for several generations. We
yeah.
don't know.
You could also, it's based. I think it's a play on animal testing.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a reversal.
And stem cell research.
Okay.
Because they do say they tried doing just partial growth
okay.
and doing just growth of organs.
They only grew an ear.
And Novice
and
Hames
it
says
didn't
that they
work. Yeah.
Well, Novice
trying
Hames
to do
says that,
kidneys, trying to do that. That's why they need the complete.
right.
and that they did this out of desperation.
Right.
You know, they were desperate. Nothing else
And it worked. So
and
then-
this did.
Right.
We had so many diseases.
And then by the time they realized, oh, these might actually be people, they were saving the people they were saving.
But I don't think I don't think in general the Sisterhood said, "Oh well, these are people." I don't
No,
think
no.
that
They
they
they've
weren't
gotten that
supposed
far.
to be. Every once in a while, there
They-
might be an anomaly where they're actually would talk, but she mentioned a book. They said, oh, you should read it. It's really interesting how these, just pieces of cells mimic life.
Yeah.
But they're not alive. They mimic the intelligence. But
What I
it's
do
not.
like is later, I'm spoiling a little bit, but I'm not really, how that one patient says, we're part of the machine, we know what you did.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that
Right.
explains.
But I don't
why.
think that sort of consciousness had ever been said before
No, I agree.
to a cat. So I do kind of think that if the doctor
Didn't show up.
I think
would've
that,
changed.
I mean, it would have taken a really long time because, the cats are entrenched in what they do.
Right.
And they think they're doing it for the good. But I think eventually there would have been debate.
Right.
Yeah, there would have been like protesters like there are now. And
Well, maybe not protesters because people don't know that
But
they're
you know
there.
what I mean, there would have
But-
been somebody-
But inside the Sisterhood, I think there would have been a lot more of, wait a
Yeah.
minute, something's going
Let's
on,
figure-
something's
yeah.
going on.
I wonder if
would
this
have
happened recently. Yes, they're growing humans, and that could be for a long time. But
True.
did they actually get sentience recently or not?
Well, you could also think they
I
were
think it's
sending-
recent.
What I liked is, I'm going back to Rose's telling Cassandra, they evolved. Humans evolved. They're still humans. And I'm wondering,
That
did
was
these
involvement.
pod people
Evolve with-
to actually become sentients when they didn't when the cat people started, and
Yeah.
they were just tissue even for a long time. So
I agree
now
with that. Now they're getting
humans
sentience.
evolved.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it's also doing commentary on, the world and slavery and people treating people as subhuman.
Yeah.
And
It's all of that.
because you're not like me, you are less than.
And you're not
what was
even
it considered
person.
a third or 3/4 of a human.
3/5.
Three-fifths.
3/5
of a human. So That's what this whole thing is kind of talking about. So it's just not that they've evolved into being sentient because they knew that they were creating human beings, all tissue together. So,
But they weren't really taking people. They weren't, at least from what they're saying, and to believe what they're saying, they were not trying to create humans. They had to get the shell of the body.
They weren't trying to create sentient people. They were trying to create a collection of organs. That's how I look at it.
Well, and even if you look at the way they treat, or Cassandra treats Chip as somebody who does, talk and has some sentience, even to her, Chip is
subhuman.
Yeah.
Yes, he very much is, yeah.
And so these things that, aren't even supposed to be speaking or doing your dishes or whatever Chip does, is even less so.
And don't get me wrong, this is a commentary, like you said, on that.
Yes, it is.
But it was not just us. The only commentary, I guess I should say, because it's like they add that other layer to it, saying it wasn't blatant, it wasn't just right out.
I think everything that most of us are always saying here is in there.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's just that's what makes the show so rich. It's just,
except for what Eugene says.
Well, okay, yeah, it's true.
agreed.
Well, I was thinking that they do a better job of this, like, farming of clones than like Man of Steel did with that whole Krypton thing. I didn't like that at all. This is much better as far as...
I don't know what movie you're referring to. Moving on.
Exactly. Thanks, Zack Snyder.
But the good thing is that they're the writers and Russell and all of them, they're making episodes to make you think.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what good sci-fi does.
Yes.
And that's what all good sci-fi... Well, that's what all good
The thing about these
shows should do, but really sci-fi.
But we're talking sci-fi as allegory or whatever. Sorry, go ahead.
The thing about these shows is there's so much to think about. Your brain's constantly bouncing back and forth and all around on these different topics.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
That's
And really helps rewatching.
Yes.
Because you can't pick up other things, and that's what's great.
Yes.
You liked it, you wanted to see it again, and then you pick up even more.
That's the thing.
And on top of the fact that there could possibly be some podcast out there that could help guide you through this.
Peel the layers of the onion.
Exactly. I mean, it's just like, a group of people getting together to discuss the issues. If only that would happen. Wow, I'm going to pay for that one later.
I don't think I've rewatched one episode, whether this time around or last time around or whatever, while I'm working and listening, that I haven't picked my head up and gone, oh, I didn't catch that before.
Me too.
Every single time I'll pick up something small.
That's good.
Yes, absolutely. It's great. Sometimes I don't agree with it, but it's like, oh, now I can see.
But you can,
not?
Right.
You can pick up
But
on it.
most of the time I do agree with it.
But it
I never would have thought of
But
that.
it elicits a thought. Mm-hmm. It's not just
I don't
brainless.
like entertainment. It makes you think.
Yeah, it's not. It's not just brainless garbage. Anyway, the doctor is an empty pod. So
Cassandra Rose.
Yeah, Cassandra Rose meets with Matron Casp and Sister Jat in an attempt to blackmail them, but they threaten her life. She releases some of the infected humans from their pods to cover her escape. The freed infected then release all the pods, and thousands of other infected, highly contagious humans descend into the hospital.
This is where we get our zombie porn.
It's really cool how they did a zombie. Again, a zombie without being a zombie, like we got in the Unquiet Dead. Mm-hmm. And then here we get the same thing, but not. I just like that.
And is this the moment where you guys are talking about maybe not the best digital work?
Yes.
When the pods blow up.
Mm-hmm.
No, not the pods blowing up. I refer to
The
when
infection of normal people with
the boils. Sister Cat. Is it Sister Jack? Sister
It's
Jack.
her, it's the
Sister
woman
Cat.
in the
That was
elevator.
Freudian. But Sister Jack gets infected. Yeah.
It's that, and it's the woman in the other side of the elevator, and they did what they had to
But
do.
still, I don't mind
If you
the
remember
woman.
watching it back then, it was fine. It was great.
I don't mind the woman in the elevator that we haven't gotten to yet. But the cat.
The cat was
The first one was the worst, and it was too bad that it was the 1st.
Yeah. By the way, spoiler: Martha's mother. Just want to throw that out there.
That's who she is.
The actress is Martha's mother.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You couldn't tell because of the makeup, but that's...
But listen to her voice. And
Yeah,
you're like,
no.
oh yeah, you're Martha's mother.
And now that I'm thinking of her eyes, I can see it.
So
we don't know who Martha is yet.
you're so linear. Okay. The doctor, Cassandra Rose, and Chip, who, by the way, is here now.
Out
Chip
of nowhere.
just shows up and is standing there.
Well,
They
he was
all
there
run.
for the blackmail.
He's he's
she
not
got
there.
him.
Well, how I think it is, the Doctor and Cassandra are there, and Cassandra puts the Doctor in a pod.
Right.
That's when Chip shows up to put the Doctor in a pod. We just don't see any of that. So when the Doctor comes out, suddenly Chip is there. Okay, fine. But it is just kind of funny when you cut to a scene and all of a sudden,
There he is.
I'm standing here.
But of course, Cassandra, okay, I'm blackmailing you. That's what she's doing with all this. Not that it's wrong, not that there's a problem with it, but people don't want to know this. I'm blackmailing you. I can get something out
Yeah,
of it.
give me a lot of money.
And then the matron going, answering her, but you don't even have guns, but we have claws. It's like,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
going to come and attack you.
And there was a good practical effect too with the claws.
I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah.
Cats have claws.
I don't know. Because it's like, but we have claws. I'd be like,
You can still run away.
so, yeah, okay. Anyway, the three of them run, but the infected people block Chip, and he hides in a pod. The Doctor forces Cassandra to leave Rose's body, which she does by entering the Doctor. They climb a ladder and come to a locked door. But before we continue, we should discuss David Tennant
Yes.
and his
Oh boy, yeah.
acting class. What do you mean, oh boy? It's awesome.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like,
Oh, okay.
I would say he was the worst Cassandra of
But
this
he's having so
episode.
much fun.
But it just shows you the range that he can do.
I feel like he was very David Tennant.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was
And
very
then
David Tennant.
He was.
I'm beating
not
out a samba.
Cassandra.
Come on.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got out of the pots.
And this is the scene where you go, how could this have ever been an Eccleston episode? Not that it was written, for Eccleston, but it's like, this is where it's like, they could not have written
No.
and filmed this episode with Christopher Eccleston.
They wouldn't have written it that way.
No, they wouldn't. It would have been completely different. How were you describing it? Can you remember?
No.
Because we were kind of trying to figure out how they would have been written and how Eccleston would have played Cassandra
I think-
taking over. It would have had much more gravitas, much more sadness.
I think they would have done something where he was able to block her out.
Yes. Yeah.
I do not.
I can't see him.
I do not ever see. And they wouldn't have written it that way.
No,
It just wouldn't have happened.
It would just be impossible.
I see the energy going, and he's like, "Nope." He swats it away.
Or instead of beating out a samba, it would have just been this heartbeat is just driving me insane.
yeah.
And then leave. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. There's just too many hearts beating. Yeah. The noise is driving me insane.
Oh, that's funny.
But
And then
yes,
the-
it's silly.
Yeah.
But I like it. It's just I know it's like trust me, if he were like that way all the time,
Right. Right. Yeah.
oh,
think
that would be awful.
a
But
good thing-
we got a good 2 minutes, and it was like that was very fun. Just to be like, okay, here's David. Now moving on.
Yeah, the good thing about this episode was it lets us know that this is a light show as well as a heavy show.
Mm-hmm.
It keeps it in that middle ground where it's fun because you take out that element and it's just depressing and heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, there were comic moments with Eccleston.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
But you knew that it was just that moment.
Right.
And it
They
was
had
just to lighten it a bit.
Right.
This goes full on into it.
Yeah.
And it's like, right now, we're just having a farce, fun, or
Right.
whatever
Well,
moment. Even though everything's serious and going on, they committed to it a lot more than in the previous season where they would have levity and then go right back
Right.
into the seriousness. This kind of keeps it a little lighter.
I also think it helps when Tennant gets angry to see the switch.
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
It
for
makes
sure.
it much
Yes.
more effective that this.
Which he can do on a dime.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's cool that we were just talking about like
Animal testing.
Yeah, animal testing and like that type of thing. And is this person alive? And then all of a sudden there's a zombie outbreak, and then we go from that to David Tennant and the samba, and
It works for me.
It works, yeah. I like it.
Yeah. Okay. So when last we left them, they had just climbed a ladder, and they come to a locked door. The Doctor won't unlock the door unless Cassandra Rose leaves both Rose and the Doctor. So she enters an infected woman. The Doctor and Rose make it to safety, but Cassandra transfers back into Rose before they close the door. Cassandra is noticeably shaken by her time in one of the affected. They are people who feel so alone and never know what it was like to be touched.
Did anyone else think that she was going to drop the sonic screwdriver.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
The second he pulled it out, I was like, oh no.
Definitely.
Well, and think about it, what we were just discussing. 30 seconds before now, we had him beating out a Samba.
Right.
And now,
she's all heavy.
She's up against the wall going, they're lonely. They've never been touched. And they both work. I think it's just well done.
I think that's part of her personal issues. Being out of skin, that she's lost that. And it's like, so she can relate to it a lot. And that's why it really affects her.
It totally sets up for the end of the episode. Like, if that didn't happen to that character in that moment,
Oh, yeah.
the end of the episode wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have meant that much.
To me, she's very different from that moment on.
For sure. This also, the thing about mentioning being touched, it reminded me of that study with the newborns.
Yeah.
And how, like, there was a study, I think it was Russia, right?
It's either Russia or
In the orphanages?
Nazis.
Or?
Something like that, where they took
No, it was Russia.
where they took newborn babies and then they didn't have any human contact, and then the other part of the ward they touched them, and then the mortality.
Yeah, the
was-
mortality was greatly affected, and the
by the
kids had
non-touching.
developmental
What
issues.
still happens here? I mean, there's plenty of babies born here that are in an incubator for a week or so.
No, but this is much different.
That's different. That's like purposely not touching.
Oh, you're talking about just experiments.
Yeah.
This was a horrible experiment.
Yeah. So that's what this reminded me of when she says.
It
that.
reminds me of that too
Yeah.
every time I see this. Samba. No. They make their way back to Ward 26, where the doctor collects all the miraculous cure solutions available. They go to it.
It looks like a fruit punch and a Capri Sun and
Yeah.
Right.
Ecto Cooler.
Even the labels on those medicine bags kind of look like American Nutrition Fact
Yeah.
guides. Like they have that same layout.
It
So
always
magic cures.
reminds me of Sick Bay from The Next Generation. They always had the colorful, glowy liquids
Yeah.
in the jars in the background. Let's see. So they go to an elevator, and the doctor adds these cures to the disinfectant containers. The doctor then lures some of the infected into the elevator, where Cassandra Rose showers them with the mega solution, which cures them. They proceed out of the elevator and touch other infected, passing on the cure through touch. Then the NNYPD arrive and arrest the Sisterhood.
The only thing I don't like about that whole business at the end with the cure, I know you had to do it visually to explain what was happening, but how boils don't just go away when you're not sick anymore. You know,
They do in the year 5,000,000,023.
Yeah.
It's a mega solution, not a.
Magic cures.
Yes.
Love.
These are space
I
boils.
suspended my disbelief, but to me, it does go into that part of the
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the perfect skin
yeah,
and makeup.
right. Yes, exactly.
Well, if their touch can infect, then their touch can cure.
Exactly. Oh,
And
I
also,
wa-
sorry.
Oh, I wonder if that was part of the idea too. That like, never mind. Well, I started to say it. All right, we're on a podcast. We have to say what we're talking.
Sure.
about.
Continue.
I wonder if like that the fact that it wasn't just don't touch them, they're sick. That there was something about their makeup that spread it. So if they had the cure, that spread it more than just being touched by someone who was disinfected.
Well, they were described as typhoid Marys.
Okay.
Types. I don't think they actually
Yeah.
said typhoid
Plague
Mary.
carrier.
They're plague
Plague
carriers.
carriers. So the whole point.
So
of
they
it
were the
was
last to die,
spread.
but they spread
All right.
the disease.
But see, I just thought of something I haven't thought
There
of
you go.
before.
Yeah.
But I do like how touching, like physically touching a human
Yeah, as a
being,
theme and-
is
And
one.
the hug. And
Yeah.
They're hugging each
I
other.
like that.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't work normally.
Right.
Like,
And then you have the doctor coming out and hugging them
Yeah.
and saying, yes, it's all right. And I do like that.
And this episode was sponsored by Leo Biscaglia.
They didn't touch any other infected that we saw. What
do you mean?
So some of the people that they later on made sick or either killed by touch, we don't know if the cure cured them.
I like to think
They
did.
died right away.
Okay.
Thank you.
They didn't show that they died.
It's a kid's show.
Yeah, I was
Jack.
waiting for the lady in the
Sister Jack.
elevator, outside the elevator, to get cured.
the woman in the
Well,
elevator.
but
So I
she
don't know
didn't-
if those people died, and so this cure only cured those people in the pod.
Right.
No,
The
they
pod
died.
People.
I like how most of us go, yeah, they died. And I was like, I think they got saved.
No, they died.
Wasn't that ward the last ward in the hospital that not be dead? Didn't they say that at some point?
Well, there's that secret 27th ward. I'm just kidding. I don't know.
I think they said like we're the last.
We're the last
They're all
ones.
quarantined.
Yeah.
The rest of the hospital is. I don't know if they said
I
infected.
mean, yeah. I mean, they
or
didn't show any
dead.
non-infected people at the end.
Yeah.
So that's why this cure would work rather
Right.
than it wouldn't work on
Would
somebody
work
that
on
they
someone who
Yeah.
got
newly
Infected.
infected.
I think it would have if they were still alive.
What's
but
a
since
mega
they're not
solution?
alive,
Not in my head.
and one brief thing is like, there's that one quick shot where you see the doctor and he's like, "Yeah, that's right. Come and hug me. Isn't this great? This is wonderful. Now go over there."
Yeah, it's so quick.
It's great. I'm the star of the show and I need to talk now.
Well, I liked Cassandra when she asked the doctor, "What'd you do? Did you kill them all?" He's like, "No, that's you. I'm the doctor. I cure."
He's like, "No, I've changed." No, okay.
Yeah, no, I like all the little doctor puns
Yeah.
throughout the episode of being in a hospital.
I'm surprised they didn't use that joke here. Well, it was just recently where like, it looks like you need a doctor. They should have, I don't know.
No.
Because
glad
it
they
didn't
didn't.
work when they used it.
I wonder if they did try it and it didn't work.
Yeah.
If it was an American show, they wouldn't
Yeah.
Like that.
Oh, but
Yeah.
it just hit me again that the time where the nurse was trying to explain why they did what they did to the doctor, and she goes, "Who are you to question these things? Because, we're doing it for the greater good," kind of thing. And he's like, "Well, it stops here." And it's like again, showing that he has this godlike complex now in this new incarnation of him.
Yes, I will
Well,
say,
he always had it. That was always, I think, something that ran through the doctor.
But I feel
Like he has a responsibility. He has a power.
there's a difference between
And
responsibility.
when to use it.
Yeah.
And when to use it.
I think she's right though. I think Tennant really brings out the conceitedness, like the bit of a megalomaniac about it. Whereas Eccleston felt it was his responsibility, Tennant feels it's his.
Like it's his right almost.
Yeah,
like this
yeah.
is who I am and I know how to make these decisions. So you have to trust my decision.
It's more.
It will come back later.
It has more
though.
ego. Than,
Yeah,
than at
it
least,
has more
than
ego.
at least Eccleston had. Eccleston had.
there's more
You're
ego.
messing with me. Don't mess with me. I know what I'm doing. Tennant's more like, how dare you mess with me?
I can agree with that. Yeah. But this is something that'll
Okay.
be
I mean, think about this.
developed later for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time I've actually seen
Yeah.
it, a bit, but.
All right. The doctor and Cassandra Rose return to Ward 26 and see that the face of Bo is better. He
He
tells.
just needed a nap.
Well, speaking of that, they also got a better prosthetic or whatever, practical with more movability and.
Well, the face of
From
Bo
the
is just a faker. That's what it was. He was faking this whole time.
Yeah. but yeah, behind the scenes they had one that was more articulate, I guess.
Expressive?
Yeah, more expressive than the one we saw in The End of the World.
Oh, but okay. I thought you meant between the
Because
beginning
they
of the
didn't need it in the end of the world.
No.
Because I don't even think he had a close up.
No.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that this one is more, there's more to this one.
Yeah.
It is weird how much you believe it.
Oh yeah. It's well done. The face of Bo tells the doctor that they will meet one last time, and that is when he will tell the doctor the great secret. He teleports away, leaving the doctor to tell Cassandra that she must leave Rose's body for good.
That is enigmatic. Textbook enigmatic.
This means Cassandra will die with no one else to graph onto. Chip arrives out of nowhere again and willingly offers her his body. After transferring into Chip, Cassandra realizes that this body will soon die, but accepts that it is her time. The doctor says,
Best line in all of Doctor Who so far.
yeah,
Oh my lord, I'm a walking doodle. Best line.
because if you've not seen the episode, and I don't know why you haven't, he's got these tattoos on his
I thought
person.
the actor who played Chip was great.
Oh,
Once
yeah.
I thought like
He's
okay,
the best Cassandra.
Yes.
Yeah,
yeah, it's true.
he really gets it.
He's
I
because
thought
he's
he was-
not over the top.
Yeah, that's just
I mean,
like-
he has the walking doodle line, but
I
after
thought,
that,
I thought he was a little over the top being Chip, and I thought it was just some silly British comedic actor. But then, like when he went into the other bits, I thought I was like, wow, this guy's. I didn't want
really
him to
well
die.
done.
I didn't
Yeah.
want him
Yeah,
to die.
yeah,
Really
for
well
sure. The doctor then says there is one thing he can do for her before she dies. He takes her back to when she was a complete human. She, as Chip, walks up to her younger self and tells her that she is beautiful, then collapses into her younger self's arms. The doctor and Rose quietly leave in the TARDIS.
We didn't mention earlier that Cassandra tells a story about that when she was watching the footage of that night. That was the last time someone told me I was beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And did anyone else think that she was gonna just zap herself into the younger Cassandra?
Yeah, I
Oh,
did.
no, I didn't.
I didn't think that.
I was
in the mood.
because I didn't think it was going to happen when I watched it earlier today, but I couldn't remember the episode well enough to be sure about it. And I'm like, oh, is she going to zap herself in there? That's what she should do if she was. But I feel like before she had the experience of being infected in one of the infected people, that's what she would have done.
Yeah.
But now that
She's grown.
she was ready to die.
So
I don't understand the ending of it.
What do you mean?
Why did she suddenly become so ready to die? It just happens too quickly. I kind of see some of the progression, but the doctor says, no, go into the Ethernet, who cares, whatever that is, to, just leave Rose. And she's like, no, and she fake cries. At least I think it's fake crying to get on, trying to play on the emotions of the doctor. And that's when Chip comes in and she goes, oh, good, here's my out. I can go into Chip. And at that moment, it's just like, okay, fine, now I'm ready to die. It just didn't sell for me.
Well, I think first she doesn't think real quickly on going into Chip, or maybe even like, well, I can bounce out of him as soon as I find someone because I know he's not going to live long. Maybe she didn't realize how much little time he had left.
Right.
And then at the same time, I think she went through that experience, and at the same time, I think the doctor's not going to give up. Like, I can't keep doing this, and it's a TV show, and they had to end it.
I think seeing her younger self and knowing that she was the only one, that she was the one that thought she was beautiful as a younger self, and thinking, well, the whole time travel thing, if she zapped into her younger self, it would have created a paradox, and she would have been more wise and more knowledgeable, and she wouldn't have been the skin thing that she thinks. So it would have created a horrible paradox if she had done that.
And the doctor wouldn't have allowed it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have allowed. Yeah, it would have been something strange. But the reason why she had changed is I think she thought that, what's it, Chip?
Yeah, Chip.
She thought Chip was nothing, and she zapped into him, and he was such a willing carrier. So it was a second thing that she hadn't realized had feelings and was a person. And it kind of changed her because she had also... helped that progression of change, I feel. Because it was, again, she thought she was better than Chip.
I mean, what she said was good about this is a new Earth with new humans, and she doesn't fit in. And she's part of the old, and so is Chip.
Yeah.
I mean, so what was written was good. It just seemed like
it was very quick.
It was very
so quick.
It's very truncated. What transpired works, but it was extremely truncated because the time.
I'm okay with it.
I mean, I'm okay with it too, but it is quick.
I think it's...
I mean, Frank has a point.
No, I understand Frank's point, but
I don't feel beat up. Go ahead. I mean, I don't think I said what I said. And I really liked the episode when I first watched it. It's just every time you watch it afterwards, it gets... a little bit harder.
I understand.
Just going, why didn't she jump into her younger self?
Oh, because
how narcissistic was the one person that affected her in her youth was herself.
Right.
It's just.
Oh, that's so Cassandra.
Yes.
No.
It doesn't. When things like that happen, if it happens to a secondary or thirdary character, it doesn't bother me as much because they're more of a story point anyway. It bothers things like that bother me when it's a main character or a supporting character who's got more to do. It's like, oh well, now we have another happy ending. Yeah,
because the writing needs it to be.
Yeah. But when someone who, even though she was supporting in this episode, she's part of the many adventures of Doctor Who.
Yeah, she's not a main character.
She's not
that's what I was going to say.
Or anything like that.
Yeah.
But
even though this was done quickly of a realization and all that, it was done well.
Yeah, I think that's just it. Like,
so
I think
still have that feelings when...
The acting in this episode is really good.
I was just going to say that's what makes it pay
Human
off.
Cassandra really sold it. It's like, she is a good actress.
I also...
all you saw before this was just her voice.
Zoe Wanamaker, you mean?
Yeah.
And her voice and then the skin.
Yeah.
When you see her and what you can do, it's like, there's a lot. It's like, okay, she's really good.
And what I didn't notice... I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, keep going.
Oh, what I didn't notice until this time I watched it is when she's holding him and saying, someone help him.
Nobody.
That everyone's just walking away. Originally, I was focused on them, and I guess I thought people were going to get help. But no, everyone's literally being... like just ignoring them as a person dies because they think he may be filth. But
well, he's part of the 99%.
Right, exactly.
One thing that I always get a little confused by that final. I don't want to say the final scene. I always get a little bit confused by that final set. Mm-hmm. It's like
the club scene.
Yeah, it's like it seems like such a cheap 1980s bar, and there's not even one alien in it.
Well, it's all retro. It's New York.
No, it's not.
Oh no,
Because
you're right.
You're right.
It
Still on
didn't
Earth.
actually
Didn't exist until after Earth blew up, when
Right.
she was already skinned, and she's been around for, what do they say, 900,
That's the thing. We don't know.
years-ish.
We don't
Right.
know how old Cassandra is. So this was, but
They're
it's
on a
still
cruise ship. That's why it looks like that.
all right. But it is like there's no aliens. There's nothing really kind of like to set this in a future. So it's really, to me, kind of like, wait, when is it? I mean, I know it's in the future, but it doesn't look anything in the future. It's just, it just like, oh man, I'm just really disappointed by the staging of that.
It could be, and this is just how we, always rationalize whatever we want. A group of pure humans.
And then so they don't
like it.
They don't want to do anything with chips. That's why nobody helps him. That was
I like it.
And she's the last of that group.
Thank
of
you.
Pure humans.
I like
Yes.
that too.
I like it.
But back,
And then and they're so cheap that they can only afford styrofoam balls that they've sprayed with glitter to hang from the ceiling. I like it.
No, they're going retro. They had a retro party.
There you go.
styrofoam was retro.
That's still around.
They found it.
It's the same
They found
styrofoam.
it.
But back to what Frank and Josh were saying, about Cassandra's character arc. Like, I think it's satisfying for me because we've waited pretty much a whole season to get to her arc, because we met her and she's a bad guy in End of the World. And then when we come back around to her in New Earth, that arc is satisfying because it's a change in character. You know what I mean? Like, it's not it, and I understand what you're saying about it being very quick and like fast as her turn, but the turn, like she gets into the infected and then she realizes that this is it. Oh, and I'm prepared to die. I think that's before that she wasn't human because she was above it all. And then, I forgot who said it, but
it took. Oh, I'm sorry, finish.
But like somebody said, like we're human because we die. We're not immortal, so we're not like gods or something else. So I think that's why she's accepting of her death, because she's human. So she's like, I need to die. You're saying?
It took her getting in touch with non-humans to become humane.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And
I thought you were going to make fun of me.
That's good.
no, that's actually really good.
I just wanted a line or something when, after the face of Bo leaves, the doctor says you have to leave. I want her to say, I know, but I don't want to die. I can't, or something that I know, but I can't.
Yeah, but
Or I'm scared or something.
But it's that literary.
Rather than, no, I don't want to die with her tears.
But it's that literary thing where if a character wants to die, they're not gonna die, type of thing.
It's just, I wanted a little more honesty between her and the doctor at that point, because I
Yeah.
think Cassandra has changed and was affected by the infected.
So you really don't like the crocodile tear moment.
Right.
So if that now, if
'Cause I
that
think she
wasn't
needed to
there,
earn-
if that was cut out, would you accept the whole thing?
Possibly.
If it was, you've got to get out of Rose right now. You're killing Rose, and Chip runs up.
Right.
And she goes, ooh.
That's a way out. Because
That's a
she
way
could
out.
probably, at that point, still think, yes, the doctor's right, and
Okay.
still of everything that's happened.
Now I'm seeing better where you're coming from now.
Okay.
But one last thing I was going to say is Russell makes us sympathetic towards Cassandra.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
and I think that's what gets me the most is like, this is a villain and you're able to make us empathize almost with the villain, like feel sad that her last moments are with herself. That's like weirdly poetic in a weird way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Before we wrap up or anything, I wanted to talk about.
We still have like an hour. I'm just kidding.
I wanted to talk about really, since this is our first full episode with the new Doctor, and he's full on the Doctor. I think they hit his character right out of the gate. What do you think about him and Rose? And specifically, what I'm thinking is when at the end of the episode, when Cassandra leaves Rose for the last time, and she collapses, and the Doctor catches her, and he's like, "Are you all right?" And she like shakes her head a little bit. She's a little dizzy, looks up, looks right at him, and she smiles at him and says hello, and he smiles at her, big huge smile, and says hello back. That's where I'm finally like, this is a couple. These two are a couple, and it's romantic, and there it is. I mean, I know we had talked about it last season.
Yeah.
I know, for me personally, I wasn't in the same area as other people. on the podcast, but I'm there now. If you guys are.
You weren't a shipper back then?
I was not a shipper back then now.
No, they're a couple. And that's why I think it's weird that they still have like this weird side relationships. So, well, we'll get more into
kissing
that.
Winky and all that kind of stuff.
We'll get more into that and the other stuff. But they're a couple, for sure. Whether it be romantic in like the physical sense.
And there's chemistry there.
There is chemistry.
You know, the actors, because I mean, this was like the first real time of the two of them working together, and you already have tagged on the entire history of the previous season into this character.
Yeah, definitely.
And then because it's like, it really just hit me this last time, and it's probably because of your guys' influence over the past season when he smiles at her. And it's just kind of like, oh yeah, there it is. I see it now. You guys have given me an added layer.
I did also think when the face of Bo teleported out, part of me was like, you could have done that the whole time.
Well, that's what I mean by he's the faker. He's the one who sent the doctor the message to come to Ward 26. And so he had to be sick to stay in the hospital until the doctor got there.
You don't think so? Even when he said, like, my faith in humanity or the people as my hope has brought me back to life, you don't think that hope has actually brought him back to life? You think he planned this whole thing?
He needed to get the doctor there, and he needed a disease that could not be cured, his old age. So he played it up. That's how I saw it.
So he's like that guy on Game of Thrones.
Because then,
Which one?
Pycelle.
Grandmaster.
All right.
but I'm thinking, because when the doctor goes back, when the doctor goes back at the end, he's like, "Well, don't you look good?" Yeah, I'm fine.
Right.
And then he just can teleport out.
Yes.
So that's like, no, he had to stay
enigmatic.
there. He just had to stay there until the doctor gets there.
Right.
To save the people.
Just like you know who to do something like that.
I like to think that there's a cutscene where it's the doctor in the face of Bo, where he's like, "Face of Bo, are you sleeping?" And he still has his eyes closed and he goes, "No." So I know we mentioned this earlier, but this episode is set 23 years after the events of the end of the world. But it's also set 30 years prior to the events of Gridlocked, and we'll get there eventually.
That's next season's?
Or Gridlock. We'll get there, yeah.
A little New York trilogy.
Yeah.
There's another cat in that. Mm-hmm. Wearing a hat. What do you think of that?
Imagine that. With the bat. Davies, we mentioned this earlier too, but Davies sort of hinted at it. Davis intended the face of Bo to impart his message to the doctor in this episode, but when he discovered that they were being renewed for a third series slash season, he quickly delayed that message until that year. And also, apparently, Stephen Moffat made a little comment about it. Like, you introduce this character and then they die, and then that's it. So Russell said, let's keep this guy around. So that worked twofold for that.
So did they mention anything about who the face of Bo becomes? Or who
Not yet.
No.
We'll do that in a third.
But I mean, they didn't say anything there.
I don't
Not
think
at
they
this
actually
point.
knew at this point.
No.
Yeah.
Boy, you know,
As writers, as creators,
if
they did
people are
not know.
listening along, like if they're watching the episodes for the first time with us as we do these episodes, they're thinking like the face of Bo is like the second coming of Christ. It's not that big a deal.
No.
It's just fun.
Yeah.
So don't be expecting
watching.
like, he's, the king of Gallifrey or something.
Or the Queen of Gallifrey.
The queen of Gallifrey, yeah.
Russell also mentions and confesses to creating a paradox with Chip and Cassandra, because the pattern, Cassandra's earlier self bases Chip on the man who had praised her for her beauty at the party, Chip himself, where the pattern for Chip's comes from, the skin, from the first instance is thus unclear, creating a paradox. Also,
She said that Chip is her favorite pattern.
Yeah, I remember that.
There's also
I don't think that's a very paradox, though.
no, but it's just he mentions it.
It's just two things. He looks like the guy said she was beautiful, and he gave her the skin of her favorite. He looks like the guy that said she was beautiful, and he gave him the skin of a dress she saw.
But that guy is her.
I know.
So she's basing it on her.
Oh, so maybe it's her favorite pattern.
So that's the paradox feeling of it.
Yeah.
It's paradox.
The person who said you're beautiful, no, seriously, you're beautiful, is herself.
Oh, I get it.
So that's the paradox that he's setting up, and that's why she remembered him, and that's why she did the
probably
pattern of Chip.
a lot of chips over the years.
I don't see why that's a paradox, though.
Yeah, I don't have a
It's
problem
just
with that one.
Paradox is something that doesn't work. This completes its circle.
I think the way it works
Where
is
does the
that
pattern come from? I think is when
That's
you want
the
to
so
where
the
does
pattern came
come
from the pattern that came from the pattern
Yes.
that came
Yeah.
from... Okay.
Yeah.
it's kind of like
It's a repeating loop, but
like
we could spend hours and
Yeah.
hours.
But then it works with the
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
theory
no, it's
of-
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what happens
Because
in
then
time
we get
travel.
I'm a walking
Yeah.
doodle, and it's all worth it.
Yeah.
No, I like it. I like it.
And I guess the doctor can access Cassandra's mind when they're merged. Because how could the doctor know about this location? He didn't see the film. He had no knowledge of it.
Yeah,
he says, I can help you.
I kind of...
So he knows about it and got something
Right.
from
Okay.
the merge.
Well, Rose told her.
Yeah.
Or something. To me, it's like, yes, you're right. Shh, moving on.
But speaking of Chip, the actor that played him, was Sean Gallagher. And just wanted to mention him because Zoe Wanamaker is Cassandra. They both did an excellent job in this
Want to make her
episode.
what?
Oh, please.
She's Madam Hooch
From Harry Potter.
from Harry Potter.
There is also a TARDISode, which sounds weird, but there is a 40-minute promo.
40 seconds.
40-second promo.
That's quite a promo.
For this episode, in which it advertises the hospital that we spend most of this episode in.
Yeah, they did that for season 2, where the BBC just had little 40-second to a minute long clips of new scenes, not deleted scenes, but just a new scene introing the episode. And this one was just an ad for the Sisterhood.
And what could someone search into YouTube to find it?
TARDISode?
TARDISodes.
Yes.
Yep. And it's just TARDISodes, and they're all up there, but they're not. They were never released on any DVDs, at least not here in the States.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were released anywhere else.
Some of them are better than others.
Yeah, they're just released that week beforehand, just as a kind of a commercial, but new information.
To build up the...
Really nice. I like that idea.
I like
Some of them are a lot more fun than others.
Also, that Face of Bo new practical that I mentioned earlier, Billy Piper's boyfriend broke it when he visited the set. It's a little tidbit.
Adam, Mickey, or
Or the doctor. Christopher Eccleston's
the real boyfriend?
Russell T. Davis also said that this episode was written for Billy Piper because he said, I promised Billy an episode in which she'd be funny. So episode 1 of the new series is very much based around comedy for Billy.
And she was. I think all of them were.
She was
They did
great.
well.
I think, probably not the people across the pond, but when I do sometimes rewatch stuff, or sometimes I put the subtitles on to get sometimes what they're saying.
Yeah.
I do that a lot.
I was like, I catch a lot of comedy that I didn't even realize was there.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Should we do our new question?
Yes, we are throwing the old questions out the window. And
we tried with a new question on the Christmas invasion, if you heard that.
I failed miserably, so that's
It's a
why
little too complicated. So what we've done now is regular viewers know that for season 1, the question was, would this be a good episode for a new Who viewer, somebody who was not familiar with Doctor Who at all? We're going to kind of broaden that going forward, and we'll see how that works. So the question now is, we're going to ask, who is this episode good for? Or more succinctly, this episode is good for who? And we've given it 4 choices. The first choice is same as last year. Is this episode good for a new Who viewer? So a new Whovian. Is this good for a casual Whovian? And we just define that as somebody who watches it when they're surfing. They catch a few episodes on streaming, but they don't seek it out. They're not a regular watcher. Is there a fan of the show, a fan Whovian, who is a regular weekly viewer? Somebody, when the new episodes come on, they watch it as they are broadcast. And then the final one is going to be, is this for just diehard Whovians only? A type of episode that no one should watch except for somebody who feels they have to watch every minute of Doctor Who that exists.
a completist.
A completist, yes. A diehard Whovian. Okay? And remember, if you're saying a new Whovian, that means it's good for everybody all the categories. So if it's a new Who viewer can watch this, that means a new Who person, a casual person, a fan of the show, and a diehard completist. Everybody's going to enjoy this show. And a diehard on the other end of the extreme means that probably not even the diehard person is going to like the show. So
They will watch.
But
it.
they
they
will
will
watch
watch
it.
it.
Because they have to.
And I have. So let's go around the table. This episode is good for who? Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Great.
I think it's good for a new Who viewer. Actually didn't really remember this episode, and watching it, I got really excited, and then I got really excited that we were going to talk about it. And I don't know, thought it was a great episode.
I agree. I think it's good for someone who's new. It's got some of the silliness, and again, it's got some of the effects that are so that if you can buy, then you'll love the show. And this episode really tells you what the show is, and it's very good.
I agree.
So I feel anybody could watch it.
Yeah, I would agree. New, maybe leaning a little bit towards casual, just because some of the effects, like I don't want to scare off a new Who viewer, just with the infection. Also, the acting is great. Billy Piper and David Tennant do a great job. But again, the reason why I would push more towards casual is just because most of the episode we see Billy Piper, is our Rose, be somebody else. So you're not really getting to see her as a character.
That's a good point.
But it's really great. It opens the second season, so it is introducing people to a lot of new concepts. It's a great introduction to Tenet. So I'm on the fence, new and casual.
No, sorry, there's no on the fence. It's black or white, just like real life. Pick.
I got 1 foot on each side.
Okay, so he's on the fence now. Let me push him. Let me push him
but
with
wait,
what I
check
say.
mark does Eugene do? We have to have a check mark.
Let
We do
Frank,
halves.
let Frank push him over one side or the other. Frank.
I don't think the effects would make or break for which one. I think overall the effects are good. I think there's enough Rose moments with her talking to Cassandra that shows who Rose is. I think it's done really well, and completely she does it so well, so that I think that does show you who this character is. I would say, click all of the above. So it's good for a new Who viewer. It's good to introduce it. There are a lot of different layers because we all look at it and realize it's so tied into End of the World episode. Same people are in it, talking about the effects of what happened there. So we see a lot more to it, but I think just as an episode itself, it's a great introduction to the Doctor because he's new. So you don't feel like you really missed out on anything. You can start right in with it.
And even though it's referring to all that, you don't need to know it to follow it.
And they explain it well.
So I think even though what you said is valid, there are certain aspects that you won't get in certain things that happen. I think it's done well enough that this will want you to see the other episodes to find out and embellish more. So I say new Who.
Cool.
And I'm definitely with the new Who viewer, new Whovian could watch this. I think this is a really good episode. Maybe not great, but very good. It's a great intro for Tennant. He does give him a lot to do. It gives Rose a lot to do. I think it's very clever. And I do think that the acting all the way down, I love Novice Haim. I think
I
that
agree with
character
you.
is great. I think Chip is great. Just this is a very, very well done. And, since it's a new Doctor, it's almost like a second pilot.
Right.
So I think it does. I think it serves that function very well.
Cool. I would recommend a New Earth to a new Who viewer because I just really like this episode. And I think when you first hear Cassandra's theme in The End of the World, it's setting up the future, but then you hear it again now and it carries a different meaning and emotion to it. Yeah. And so I think that that's cool that you can have that not only with a character, but with a piece of music. And so I think that that's really cool. So I'll burn.
Come over to our side.
Well, I don't want to make it unanimous.
Why not?
Too easy. I'll switch to casual.
Casual.
If Kelsey were here,
Which is a good show on Hulu right now.
by the way, I want to point out officially in the podcast, this question, Kelsey said it first. This was Kelsey's question.
Yes, thank you for
So it was like a
giving
lightning
this
bolt.
When was it?
That was in the episode
Long Game.
Long Game.
Long Game.
Yep. Because she was discussing Simon Pegg, and if people don't like Doctor Who, but they like Simon Pegg, and she's like, this episode is good for who? It was like, oh, yes.
So there's our thoughts on the episode New Earth. Tell us what you think. Are the Doctor and Rose officially a couple at this point, or do they have to journey a little further? Write in and let us know. But thank you for listening, and we will see you next time when the future becomes the present.
You've just listened to an episode of Who Knew? Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
You can find his work at theuniverseexplodes.com.
You can find this show in several places. Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on iTunes and Stitcher, or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Who Knew Podcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com. You can leave comments there or email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who, the longest running sci-fi show in history, and especially the revival spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
Thanks to Russell,
Sidney Newman,
Verity Lambert,
Ron Grainer,
And all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
your work continues to inspire and entertain.
Sound effect.
We'll do that later.
Oh, we can do that now?
Yeah, we recorded it already.
Recorded afterward.
Oh, it's added in.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Shiny.
Here, restart. Okay, take two.
What do you think, Albert?
This episode is New